Y'all, Kenya said, "You brought flowers? Well, I brought receipts. Not a whole PowerPoint presentation at the hair spa." Y'all, grab a snack and let's get into this recap because it's about to be juicy.
Kay Unscripted, no teens restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Kay. Today we're diving into the Real Housewives of Atlanta season 16, episode 5. And let me tell you, this one was messy, dramatic, and full of surprises. Let's get into it. We start off this episode with Angela visiting Shamia's house. They settle in with drinks, and then Brit arrives looking like she hasn't slept, and she actually says that she hasn't. And then Angela jumps in and says she hasn't either because apparently the venue owner was not happy with what went down. They all acted a whole damn fool in someone else's place of business, and now they want nothing to do with you, Angela. Then Shamia's like, "Girl, what happened?" And Brit claims that Kenya kept cutting her off. And I'm confused. I wasn't there, but that's not what we saw. Then Angela says she wrote the question that started all the drama. "Last week, I said it was Brit, so I do owe Brit an apology on that one. But Angela, why were you instigating?" Angela says Brit told her that she felt some type of way about Kenya, and she claims that she was just defending her friend. Brit then says she didn't mean to intimidate Kenya, and she didn't mean for any of that to happen. And Shamia's like, "Well, girl, tell her, not us." And I completely agree. Then Brit says, "You know what? Because of y'all, I'm gonna take it down a notch." That's interesting. So there's no acknowledgement that what you said was wrong. Then Shamia asks Angela if she brought up the Portia situation with Charles. And Angela's like, listen, I'm married to a celebrity. My DMs are flooding. Ain't nothing rocking this boat." Okay then, sis. Then Brit jumps in talking about, "If anybody talks about my husband, they're getting slapped." Girl, what? What's up with all the violence, Brit? Simmer down, simmer down. You're doing a little bit too much again. Next, we cut to the scene with Kenya at her beautiful hair spa. She's meeting up with Portia, and Portia's like, "Girl, I don't know what kind of day you're having, but I brought you some sunshine." And Portia's like, she loves the vibe. Y'all, it's giving cute, it's giving healing, and I love to see those two together. As to why Portia is not standing up for Kenya in real time, I don't know. Then Kelly pulls up. She says she hated how things went down with Brit, but she likes Kenya and she came to support. And so the ladies help Kenya choose models for her big grand opening. That's why they came, in addition to talking about what went down. And so once they've seen the models, they start talking about the guest list. Kenya says she never uninvited Brit, and Kelly's confused about what really went down. So Portia's explaining, and she says that Kenya had already disengaged from Brit. And then Brit started talking about a firearm, and things just went left. So they're trying to figure out if she really did say that. And Kenya says, "I know what I heard, and let me tell y'all, Kenya wasn't backing down. She was right. Brit did say that. We all saw it." Kelly tries to defend Brit, but girl, you were there. You heard her. In real time, you're saying you never heard Brit say that, but we saw it. She said it to you. And you even said, "That's okay, girl. We've got security." So please don't do that. Don't start acting brand new right now. Portia says Kenya should do her due diligence, and Kenya claps back with, "I will do my due diligence and get that background check." And did. And did. Then in her confessional, Kelly says, "Girl, you need to be doing the background check on your employees." Okay, that's fair. But the reality is that Brit has been coming for Kenya from day one. What did Kenya even do to her? This is what we're still trying to figure out. Next up, Angela and her daughter Amari. They meet up for coffee, and Amari saying she thought that her grandmother would have been there, but apparently last minute her grandmother told Angela, you need to talk to your daughter. So here's what happened. According to Amari, she wanted to use her grandmother's car, but then they asked her for money. And then apparently her aunt got in her face, started calling her a demon, and things just escalated. So Angela's saying that they're not going to get away with it. Nobody's going to come for her daughter. And then she tells us that she bought the house for her mom and Amari was staying there, but it got toxic and so she moved out. Amari feels like her mom should not be financially supporting her mother and her sister, her grandmother and her aunt. But Angela reveals that her mom was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and she used to take meds, but she stopped because she said she's now healed. Now, listen, I kind of get it because here in the Caribbean, a lot of older folks, they don't like to be on medication and they prefer to get into their herbs, or like we call it here, they like their bush medication. Now, I'm not saying that's what Angela's mom is doing, but I'm just saying that a lot of older folks do not like how medication makes them feel, and so they prefer to go to the healthy route, or the herbal route, I should say, when it comes to certain things. But the reality still is that mental health is still health. Amari says, listen, I love my grandmother, but in this situation, she was wrong. And Angela says, well, it's my mom. I want to protect her. But now I have to defend my baby. And then out of nowhere, she mentions that Amari got married. Apparently, she found out from her mother. And I'm absolutely confused because you kept saying that she's your best friend. Now, if she's your best friend, why wouldn't she tell you that she was getting married? Or maybe she didn't feel comfortable telling you. Or maybe she did tell you and now you're bringing it on camera. You're making it part of your storyline. I don't know. It just always seems like Angela gives us bits and pieces of the story, and somehow we as audience have to figure out what the real story is. I'm going to say that it's probably bad editing. You could tell that she was annoyed by Angela asking her that, or maybe she didn't want her to bring it on camera. I don't know, but Angela was upset, and Amari's just like, y'all are making it a bigger deal than it is. Now, here's what I think. Sometimes you have to let people make their own decisions, and as a parent, you guide them. She's an adult. She can make her own decisions. You have to allow her to tread her own path. She wants to be grown. Let her be grown, Angela. She's your daughter. It's her life. Let her live it as a parent. You just support her and be there for her. Next up, Brit and Portia link up for lunch, and Portia wastes no time asking her, girl, what the hell happened, right? Portia says, listen, girl, everybody agreed that Kenya wasn't being shady. But Brit insists that Kenya was being dismissive and she was targeting her. When did Kenya target you, girl? She's been nice to you from the beginning. Since the ring comment, okay, you felt that she was being shady towards you. She hugged you, she greeted you nicely at Kelly's event. She even responded to you respectfully at that dinner. She didn't have a negative tone, nothing, until you kept throwing digs and she called you a peasant. So Portia tells her, well, you have preconceived notions about Kenya, and that's based on what you've seen on the show when she doesn't like someone. And like I said in my last recap, it's giving very much fan of the show. So Portia's asking her to clarify the pistol statement because they didn't hear it, but Brit says a whole lot of nothing. Oh, she felt triggered. What triggered you? We want to know. So Portia's like, okay, what if I got to the elevator when I had my little argument with Kelly and whatnot, right? What if I got into the elevator and I said, I wish I had my pistol? You'd be asking me who it's for. And that right there was the perfect explanation. She says she shouldn't have said it, But then in her confessional, she says she wasn't going to do anything. How do we know that? How does Kenya know that? She doesn't know you. You're a stranger to her. She's getting to know you. And here you are still trying to justify your behavior, Brit. She says she regrets it and she was wrong and she wants to move on. But for me, it's like the good old saying goes, when somebody shows you who they are, believe them. I have given people second chances, and that's to my friends and my family, but some stranger I've never met who's nitpicking everything that I do, making an issue out of it, for me, we're good. And then for you to go to the extra mile to start threatening me, I don't see us having any kind of friendship or relationship. Now we're at Angela and Charles's house, and Angela wants Charles to go to Kenya's event with her. As to why, I don't know. I think she probably just wants Charles to check Portia. But anyways, she mentions the comment that Portia made about Charles, and he's like, she the feds or something. Charles Charles be having them clapbacks, right? He's swift with it and he don't play those games. Next thing you know, he's in his feelings talking about, oh, she better ask about me. She better Google me and Google me twice. And then he tells Angela, it's your job, handle her. And when you handle her, let me know. Okay, Charles, but every time I listen to Angela's voice, I get so annoyed. For me, her voice is so annoying. But that is just me. So then she brings up her sister trying to have a heart to heart with her husband, and Charles just completely shuts it down. He tells her, well, why do you keep bringing issues to me? And she's like, we're married. And he's like, I don't have time for none of that. He doesn't care at all. Honestly, I couldn't be with a man that cold. He just always seems irritated when Angela opens up. He just seems like he don't want to be around her. Now, maybe that's because of the things she told her family about him. But does that give him the right to be dismissive? No. I gave my thoughts on that in my last recap. If you haven't seen it, go back to the video and listen to what I said about that. I spewed some words of wisdom about that situation. But anyways, she seems to love it and I love it for her. That's her choice, her life, right? So now it's time for Kenya's grand opening. And from the cast, Cynthia arrives first. And she says she's so excited for Kenya. She's here to support her girl. Now, Cynthia, in real time, we haven't seen you supporting Kenya, but we're going to get to that a little later. Shamia arrives next, and I'm not really impressed with her look. But Kenya came, and y'all, she really went all the way out for her event. There's press, there's paparazzi, and then she arrives looking fabulous as always. Portia's on time, honey, singing Kenya more haircut, Kenya more haircut. Yes, we love that. We love that for Kenya. Then we see her and Miss Lawrence. They go up to her office and Miss Lawrence is giving her flowers. Meanwhile, we see Brit and Kelly in a Sprinter van with flowers. Brit hopes Kenya accepts her apology. And honestly, I just feel like no one is taking it seriously when it comes to the comments. Well, not the comments, but the threats that Brit made to Kenya. You don't say those type of things loosely in the kind of time that we're living in. I'm going to say this proverb that we in the Caribbean say. I don't know if it's really a proverb, but it's a saying that goes, sorry doesn't cure. And that means that just because you say you're sorry, it doesn't take away from the hurt and the pain that was caused to that person and the scar that's left behind. You made some very serious threats, and just saying sorry and bringing flowers isn't going to change everything. So her hair show begins and it's fabulous. Actually, it's a hair contest and it's giving everything. It's giving high fashion. It's giving hair art. I personally was really stunned by some of the hairdos. Then Drew shows up late per usual with a whole entourage like she's the main event. Now look at y'all quiet about why Drew is always late And don't give me, they're not best friends. They may not be best friends, but they're friends. I don't want to hear no excuses for Drew. She's been late every episode. So, anyways, once we see all of the models, they announce the winner, and then we cut to a conversation with Cynthia, Portia, and Shamia. Shamia is being filled in on all the Brit drama since she's been out of town, but Shamia tells her that she and Angela made up. And so Cynthia looks at Portia and goes, "Well, did you and Drew make up?" And Portia's like, "Nah, you didn't miss that. That didn't happen." But she's very much hot. So I guess Portia is upset because, like we saw in the last episode, Dennis and Drew did film, in spite of how Portia felt about it. Meanwhile, Brit is still in the sprinter with Kelly, and she's talking about how her aunt passed away and so many things have been going on. I'm going to be respectful and say my condolences to your family. Going through losing a family member is always very difficult. But I don't know if it's just me, but they're really trying to tell Brit's story or to give an excuse as to why she did what she did. I may be wrong, but that's how I'm reading into it. For me, it's given we don't like Kenya and we're protecting Brit. But anyways, over at the event, we learned that Angela was the only one who reached out to Kenya after the event. And I'm a little bit shocked because apparently she texted Kenya and we get to see some of the text and she says, "Kenya, you didn't deserve that." Okay, now, Angela, why didn't you hold Brit accountable at Shamia's house? If you really did feel that way, why not speak up? Because you're the one who instigated that argument to begin with. So Angela tells her, "Girl, I'm on your side." And so that has me thinking that Angela heard what Brit said, but Kelly didn't. They were together when Brit said it the second time. But back in the conversation with Portia, Cynthia, and Shamia, Portia's filling Cynthia in, and she's like, "Brit went next level." Even Cynthia was shocked, like, "Next level?" And Portia's like, "Yeah, she mentioned having a firearm." Now, here's the thing. The internet is dragging Miss Cynthia Bailey because now she's doing her interviews saying she didn't know what happened because she wasn't there. But girl, we see Portia filling you in. So that's very confusing to me. What's the tea? Now they're sitting there saying, "I think they just need to talk." And Shamia says, "Well, Brit can't be mad if Kenya isn't ready to accept her apology." And Portia's like, "Well, I don't think she's in that headspace to receive an apology. I think she's very offended and she will retaliate." Then Kelly and Brit walk in with their little apology bouquet. The girls are shocked that Brit even came. So they're all speculating how Kenya feels. And then Drew comes in, waltzing as always, trying to hug Portia, and Portia is not here for it. Drew starts talking slick. "Oh, I don't want Dennis. Girl, you could have his hot dog." Drew irks my nose, y'all. Did you really have to say that, Drew? Portia is not having it at all. She tells Drew. She basically tells Drew, "Go to hell." She says Drew is lying, and if that's the energy that she's coming with, she can keep it. Drew hits the confessional like, "I tried and I'm done trying." I'm not even going to comment on this part because I've already said what I had to say about this situation. Next. So Kenya's coming into the area that the ladies are, and as she's walking in, Brit tries to apologize with her flowers, but Kenya is not here for none of it. She's giving her the cold shoulder, ignoring her, talking over her to everyone else as if Brit was invisible. Brit's taking it. She knew what she did, so she's like, "It's fine, you could ignore me. I'll just leave these flowers here and go." She starts saying goodbye to the ladies, and this is where things went left. Kenya tried to get everybody's attention and she starts giving this speech thanking her guests for coming and how meaningful the salon is to her and how she's tired of people trying to bring her down and then they want to bring her flowers. Brit is outside with Kelly saying she tried. But I'm like, girl, you really thought some flowers was going to solve everything? Kenya talks about what happened at the event to her guests, and she asks them to get rid of the flowers. And here comes Kelly trying to snatch the card. Girl, what are you doing? Y'all, as soon as Kenya started talking about being threatened with a firearm, and she starts saying how she did her research about this person, she pulls out her whole vision board about Brit. The way I screamed when I saw that. Now, we didn't really get to see what was on the vision board. I don't know why I'm calling it a vision board, but it was giving vision board, right? We didn't get to see it. It was blurred out. And immediately Kelly was like, yeah, I'm out. Now, you know what pissed me off the most? All of a sudden, Bravo wants to give a disclaimer. Where was the disclaimer at the last episode when one cast member threatened another cast member? Where was the disclaimer? But all of a sudden now, y'all want to give us a disclaimer. Okay. Anyways, the other ladies didn't like what was happening, and so Shamia, Portia, and Angela, they walked out of the event. Guys, this is the last time we get to see Kenya on our screens. Now, here's what I think about this entire thing. I am going to piggyback on what Portia said. Kenya, my love, you worked so hard to get to this point. Your event is bigger than you. It was bigger than you. It was about your daughter, your success, your hard work, your blood, sweat, and tears. I hate that you use your big day to make it about Brit. Don't get me wrong. However she chooses to respond to the threats that were made against her is her choice. I just wish she didn't do it on her grand opening. Last season, she didn't get to showcase her hair spa. This season, you got to do it. And I hated that you used your big moment to quote unquote blast Brit. I personally wouldn't have gone that far, but at the same time, you cannot tell someone how to respond to something when you're not the one going through it. Stop telling that lady how to feel. She is the one who felt it. On the other hand, your event should have been about you, not Brit. Now, Brit, this is for you. You're not a victim here because you pushed and pushed Kenya for no reason. Up to a day like today, you cannot even give a valid reason as to why you chose to come for Kenya. You went too far. You just cannot go around threatening someone not once, but twice. And then you act innocent when that person retaliates. You both were wrong. Point blank period. That's just how I feel. I am so disappointed in the network because whether or not Brit had a weapon, we don't know. But that doesn't even matter. Bullets don't have a name on it. If disciplinary actions were taken on Kenya for the photos, the same should have been done to Brit. Why is everyone mad at Kenya and not holding Brit accountable for how she started it to begin with? People, wrong is wrong. You cannot police how someone responds, but you also can't act shocked when your actions cause chaos. We always like to blame someone for responding or for going low, as we say, but we tend to forget that the person was being provoked and pushed to this point. Production didn't protect Kenya. Brit lost her absolute damn mind. It was too much. What do y'all think? Who do you think was wrong? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about it. And don't forget, guys, to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a recap or any other videos of mine. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.